You won't believe how close I came to losing everything I worked for, not to a thief in the night, not to a bank, but to the very people who were supposed to protect our neighborhood. If you think HOAs are just about keeping lawns trimmed and houses painted beige, you're dead wrong. What happened to me was a slow, calculated invasion. And by the time I realized what they were doing, they had already filed the paperwork to take my land. It started with a letter, just a small envelope with the HOA logo on the top left. Notice of encroachment, it read. According to them, a portion of my backyard, land I had fenced, landscaped, and maintained for over a decade, wasn't mine. They claimed it belonged to the community green space. Which was strange, because the property lines on my deed were crystal clear. But the letter warned me, remove all structures or face daily fines of $250. At first, I thought it was a clerical error. I called the office. They brushed me off. I emailed, no reply. Then came the photos, taken over the fence, marked up with red lines. Non-compliance stamped across every one. I reached out to my neighbors. Some had seen this before. The HOA had forced another resident to tear down a shed that was supposedly out of bounds. But that case never went to court. They just gave in. I wasn't going to be next. That land was legally mine. I paid for it, maintained it, paid property taxes on it. I decided then, I wouldn't back down. This wasn't just about a patch of grass. This was about standing up to the quiet tyranny that hides behind bylaws and committees. I started digging, not in the dirt, but through documents. Deeds, surveys, plats, every scrap of paper tied to my property. And what I found stunned me. The original developer had sold my lot with full rights to that parcel. The fence line matched the city's official records. But here's the twist, the HOA was relying on their own internal map, one drawn years after my house was built, that conveniently redrew boundaries to absorb the back edge of several homes into their greenbelt. This wasn't a mistake. This was strategic. Quietly changing internal maps, betting homeowners wouldn't question it. When I confronted the HOA board during a meeting, I brought copies of my survey, my title insurance, everything. But they didn't care. They just repeated the same line, our map says otherwise. One of them even smirked. That was the moment I knew, this wasn't about rules. This was about control. They issued me an ultimatum, remove the fence within 30 days or face daily escalating fines and legal action. I refused. They started fining me $250 per day. I watched as those numbers climbed. A month in, the fine had ballooned to over $7,000. My mailbox filled with threats. My neighbors started whispering. One even asked if I was going to sell. Sell? No. I was going to fight. I hired a land use attorney. She was blunt, they've done this before. But we're not letting them get away with it this time. We filed a cease and desist. Then a formal lawsuit. That got their attention. But even then, they didn't back down. They filed their own countersuit, claiming I had violated HOA rules, defied community standards, and knowingly encroached on association land. Now it was war. Court isn't like in the movies. It's slower, quieter, but no less brutal. The HOA showed up with their lawyers, their board members, and a smug sense of righteousness. They tried to paint me as a troublemaker. They said I was destabilizing the community, setting a dangerous precedent. But my attorney came prepared. She started with the chain of title, documents showing every transfer, every boundary line. Then came the surveyor, the same one who mapped the property when I bought the house. He pointed to the markers still embedded in the ground. The judge listened. Took notes. Raised his eyebrows more than once. Then came the HOA's turn. They presented their internal maps. But when questioned, they admitted those maps were not registered with the city or the county. They were, for reference only. That was a fatal mistake. My attorney asked one question that changed everything. Can you show the court a single legally binding document that proves my client's backyard belongs to the HOA? They couldn't. The courtroom fell silent. Even the judge leaned forward. So you're fining this man thousands of dollars based on an unregistered map? Their lawyer tried to pivot, claimed the HOA had the right to enforce community aesthetics. But the damage was done. The judge didn't buy it. The next 15 minutes felt surreal. The judge declared the land legally mine. All fines rescinded. And here's the best part, the court ordered the HOA to pay my legal fees. I didn't just win. I buried them in their own arrogance. The story didn't end in the courtroom. Word spread fast. Neighbors I hadn't spoken to in years came knocking, thanking me. Some admitted they were scared of the HOA, worried they'd be next. But now they saw that standing up could work. That we didn't have to live under constant threat of fines and intimidation. The HOA? They went quiet. Real quiet. Meetings got shorter. Letters less aggressive. That smirk I'd seen in the boardroom? Gone. Replaced by silence and, I suspect, a few resignations. But the real victory wasn't just legal. It was personal. It was the moment I realized we give HOAs power by assuming they're untouchable. By letting fear of confrontation silence us. They count on our compliance. But what they don't expect, is resistance. If this could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. That's why I'm sharing this. Not for revenge. But so you know, you're not powerless. You don't have to cave in. Know your rights. Know your property. And if they push back harder. Because sometimes, the only way to stop a bully, is to take them to court and make them lose, publicly. This wasn't just about land. This was about dignity. About drawing a line, and not letting anyone cross it. Not even the HOA. If you've ever felt powerless against your HOA, it's time to fight back. Subscribe to HOA Warzone, where we expose the corruption, tell the truth, and stand up for homeowners everywhere. Your rights. Your land. Your voice. Let's take it back together.